Welcome to today's parent class. Today we're talking about self-motivation and self-discipline. And I bet we can all understand that this is a huge issue. This is so difficult for us as parents. It's difficult for our children. It's difficult every day to make sure that we keep on pushing through and doing the things that need to be done, even when we don't feel like it, even when we don't want to. And that is such a hard thing to do. So I want to thank you for showing up, for learning some more about this. And I hope today that you will find some practical tips and advice for how you can help to be more self-motivated and more self-disciplined to do the things that you need to do and to reach the goals that you have for yourself and for your homeschool. So the first thing I want to address is why listen to me? And that is an amazing question. This is a question everyone should always ask anytime that they are letting someone speak into their life. So why you should listen to me? I am Teresa. I am the language arts mentor with Discern to Learn. Every single week, I train students in self-motivation and self-discipline. I help them to deal with the emotions that surround all of those tasks that they have, the emotions that they have about the nagging that might be happening at home, and the emotions that they have about failing, the emotions that they have about needing to be perfect. And those are often the things that hold them back from being self-disciplined. And honestly, it just takes a lot of practice. I spent most of my life not super motivated. I did the things that had to be done. Pretty much they came easily to me. I never really tried very hard. And I don't want my students, and I don't want you to be stuck in this pattern of not doing hard things. I want you to face the difficulties and to be able to move forward, to find your goals, to set those goals, and then break it down into pieces so that you can get there too. So I hope that answers for you my experience with self-motivation and self-discipline. It's been a long journey for me. I'm not there yet. You know, life is a journey. It's a journey of growth, and no one has arrived. We are all learning and growing, and I hope that I can learn and grow right alongside you. So we know that self-motivation and self-discipline really matter. And as parents, maybe you need to hear that it matters for your own growth. It's not just about your kids. It's not just about making my homeschool work and not wrecking them. It's not about making sure that everything runs smoothly in the house. For our own personal growth, to reach our own goals, we need to have discipline. And right now, maybe your goal for watching this is to gain more discipline. So we need discipline in order to gain discipline. And that is a conundrum. So I know how difficult that is. The next reason it matters is because our kids need an example. They really need to see that someone in their life is able to manage this, that someone can figure out how to get the things to work, how to fit all the pieces in, and that it is a possibility, that it is possible for them to schedule, to plan, to set a goal, to work towards it, to be disciplined. And this is something that is especially difficult because when our kids get to be like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we start expecting them to work independently. We start expecting them to be responsible. And if we haven't taught them these skills, they're going to struggle and fail. They're going to be frustrated and discouraged, and we're going to be frustrated and discouraged, and everybody's going to be angry, and everybody's going to be sad. Does that sound like you? It's a difficult place to be in. And we know the self-discipline matters because there is just a lot of stuff that needs to get done when you're an adult. And somehow we have to make it all fit in, and everyone only gets 24 hours. So we have to make it all fit in. And each one of our lives has its own interesting and difficult set of challenges that we have to deal with personally. So we have all our own personal challenges and struggles on top of getting all those things done. So we have to be able to figure out how we can make that work in our lives. it's important for us to realize that to teach something is to show something. We can't teach what we don't know. We can't guide where we don't go. And we can't grow if we don't sow. So when we teach our children or our teenagers, we have to be able to know it ourselves. And we have to be able to guide them in the path that we're going on, because they're going to follow the path we're going on, whether we like it or not. And we need to sow seeds of discipline and motivation and dreaming into their lives so that they can have something to look forward to and realize that they have agency in life, that they can do something about things. If they don't like it, they can solve that problem. It might be with hard work, it might be with discipline, but they can do something big and they can do something about their lives if they don't like something. So why are we stuck here? We know it's important. Here are the reasons that we procrastinate and don't follow through. These are the ones I can think of. Maybe you know of more. If you can think of more, Roxanne, please feel free to let me know. The first thing is we tend to tell ourselves, oh, I have lots of time. I don't know. We were talking earlier, and maybe you don't tell yourself that. Maybe you feel like your to-do list is way bigger than your time. I know I feel like my to-do list is way bigger than my time. This is not usually something that I think, because really, is there lots of time? Well, yes, there is lots of time. There's 24 hours in a day. We all have the same amount of time. And if someone else can make it work, we probably can too. But we also know that time goes fast. And every day, week, month, and year that we have with our kids is gone. We can only spend our time once. And so we don't really have lots of time. It is unbelievable how fast those years go, how fast that time goes, and how fast our life just passes us by. This task won't take very long. Really? Well, sometimes it doesn't, but very often it takes a lot longer than we thought it would. So by the time we get all the tools out, and by the time we get going, and by the time we do the task, and then we clean up, it has taken a lot longer than we thought it would. But the big reason that we procrastinate, that we don't follow through, are the emotions that are attached to the tasks. So we're not in the mood, or that makes me feel a certain way. It makes me feel angry, irritable, incomplete, not good enough. Or if I try to get my students to do this task, they're going to get angry or teary or upset, and that's going to feel stressful for me. And it's just easier just to do it myself than it is to deal with their reactions. Or that's going to make me feel inadequate as a parent. Maybe I shouldn't be asking anything of my kids. Their reaction makes me feel a certain way. And we're going to really dig into this. Yes, thank you, Roxanne. I agree, emotions are a huge, huge reason. Emotions are the biggest reason that we procrastinate. So what about not in the mood? What if my 16-year-old said, Mom, I'm just not going today. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing school today. I'd be saying, that's nice, honey. Sit down. Let's get some work done, right? It's time that we need to do things. Not being in the mood isn't really a reason. It's a feeling. And believing that we have to be in the mood to do something is just not true. People often say this about writing, and this comes up all of the time with writing. Well, I have to be in the right mood or the right frame of mind to write. I have to be in my creative mood. The real truth is we just have to sit down and start. And when we get going, we'll be getting going. And if the first paragraph all needs to be changed letter, that's okay. The honest truth is I'll write for magazines. Usually the first 200 words are trash. And in the end, they all get thrown out. But I wouldn't have been able to get where I was if I hadn't started. So really not being in the mood is just an excuse. Why would we let this stop us, not being in the mood? We wouldn't let it stop our kids, or I hope we wouldn't. We wouldn't let them say, yeah, I'm just not in the mood for putting my laundry away or doing any house chores. I think I'm just going to beg off house chores for the next month because I'm not in the mood. You know, man, if I could just like not do things because I wasn't in the mood, man, there'd be no dinner happening tonight. So there are things that we have to do even when we're not in the mood. It's really just an excuse that we make to ourselves that makes us feel better about procrastinating. Is that something you can identify? Yes, I agree. Yes to all of that. Absolutely. It is a big thing, not being in the mood. And really, we're deluding ourselves. Or this task might make me feel. Roxanne, you want to pop in the chat and tell me, are there other feelings that tasks make you feel? So if we feel stressed, why does it make us feel stressed? Why does that task stress us? This is the deeper question. We say we're overwhelmed. We say we're stressed. What does that really mean? Why is it overwhelming? Why is it stressful? Why is it overwhelming and stressful for me to fold the laundry when I have other things going on? And really, it's because it's just a task I don't like. And I have to go upstairs, so I have to go out of my way to do it. And let me see, it just makes me feel like I'm wasting time. It's just something that always needs done again and again and again. Surely there's something better for me to do. Some things might stress us because we wonder, what if I can't do it well? Yes, anxious. Roxanne, anxious is your anxiousness from what if I can't do it well? Or what if it can never be good enough? There are lots of reasons that we could be anxious. We want to like dig a little bit deeper and find out why we're stressed, why we're anxious. What are we telling ourselves? What are we thinking? What if I can't do this thing well? What if I fail? So most of my house chores, this isn't really a problem. I know how to empty the dishwasher. I know how to cook dinner. I know how to fold the laundry. I'm not fearing failure in that. But let me tell you, every time I sit down to write a magazine article, I fear failure. I'm exposing myself to the homeschool world. And what if they don't agree? What are they going to think about me? Those things can make us uncomfortable because we have some fears we aren't really sure. Or perhaps we feel like we can't do it well enough. Well, I don't have time right now to spotlessly clean the kitchen, so it's better just not to do it at all. Or I don't have time to deep clean the bathroom, so forget it. I'm just not going to do it. So there's that piece. I don't have time for the big job, so I'm not going to do any of it. We might also worry about perfectionism, especially with writing. In my writing classes, I see this all the time with my students. They're afraid to hand it in. And I say, why is this late? Well, I just have a little bit more work I have to do on it. And I look at it and it's done. So you mean you have more work on it or you're afraid it's not good enough? Well, I feel like I could make it better. How could you make it better? Well, I don't know. So you're afraid it's not good enough. Just hand it in. When we fear things not being perfect, right? There might be someone we want to connect with or have over, but we're afraid that our house won't be clean enough, our food won't be good enough, our kids won't be behaved enough. Perfectionism. Or what about hopelessness? Doesn't matter how many times I teach my kids how to spell this word, they just don't know, right? Okay. And the other one is something I don't enjoy. It just makes me uncomfortable. That is my folding laundry. I just don't enjoy it. I don't know why. It doesn't even make me uncomfortable. I just don't like it. So it makes me feel like I'd just rather not because I don't enjoy it. It's so silly because it takes 10 minutes and it would be done. Instead, I worry about it and I stress about it and I put it off and I procrastinate it. Doesn't make any sense. Let's talk about the reactions of our kids. Okay, what reactions do your kids have that make you think twice about doing something or asking them to do something? Um, what kinds of things pop into your mind? Overwhelmed often means we don't know how to handle something or we don't know what to do or what to do next. And if they are angry or irritable, how does that make us feel? If we ask our kids to come and do something with us, to sit down and do some work with us for homeschool or to wash dishes or whatever, oh, yes, they act like it's such a big deal when it's really a small thing. Okay, yeah, absolutely. And we often avoid these responses. We want to avoid feeling frustrated and angry and disappointed in our kids because they aren't doing any work or very little work compared to us, and we're doing all the work, and we ask for this, and they don't respond very well. They act like it's such a big deal what we're asking from them. So we try to avoid those situations because we don't like how it makes us feel. Maybe this happens very often when students are asked to do some academic writing, and they will be angry, or let's say writing. They'll be angry and frustrated. They might even shut down or refuse to do the work. And honestly, how does that make us feel? It makes us feel not good enough. And it makes us feel unappreciated. And it makes us feel disappointed. And these are feelings that we don't want to have. These are feelings that we don't want to feel towards our children. So we often avoid it. So their reactions, we know that they're going to probably respond in a certain way. So we try to avoid those reactions. And that is something that we really need to work on because someone else's reactions or responses are not our responsibility. What needs to be done, whether they respond well or whether they respond poorly. And our actions and responses need to be based on the logic and the facts, not on how they're feeling. And I know this is really, really hard because I'm a mom. I understand it. I will go out of my way to approach the situation and tiptoe around and try to make it as fun as possible. This is why there are thousands and thousands and thousands of homeschool posts. How can I make math fun? How can I make this job fun? I want my kids to enjoy this. I want everything to be fun. But sometimes things aren't fun, but they just need to be done, right? So sometimes we just have that. Or they might take painfully long to do something, and then you're stuck, and it affects everything else you have to do. That's right. So we often avoid things because of our kids' reactions to us, or maybe our spouse's reactions to us, because we don't want to feel those feelings. So procrastination or not following through on things is often a response that is trying to protect ourselves from bad feelings. And sometimes we need to understand that feelings aren't bad. Feelings just are. those responses that we have, those are alarm bells that are saying, hey, be careful, be careful, be careful. This is dangerous. You know, it's not dangerous. Our emotions are overreacting. And so the best way we can deal with that actually is to confront them and to follow through and to do the things and change the reactions to responses so that we can move forward. And it's not easy. I understand it's not easy. Okay. Okay, so now we get down to the practical things, the strategies. So first of all, the strategies are the very first most important thing is you need to know why. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? So Roxanne, you share with me you have a garden, and gardening takes a lot of work. And so why do you have a garden? What is your goal with the garden? Is it something that you have to do, or is it something that you take joy in? And homeschool, why do we homeschool? What is our priority? What is our purpose and our goal in homeschooling? On those hard days, we need to know why we're doing the things that we're doing. That's going to help us. That's going to help us redirect our mind and our thoughts. Okay, the reason that I am asking my children to do chores on the regular basis, whether they like it or not, or want to or not, is because they need to learn household management skills and I need help. We are in this house together all day long. And so we all need to work as a team to get things worked out and to get the tasks done. Okay, yes. And Roxanne, do you enjoy your garden? Or is it just a chore that has to be done? So it's so important to know why so that we can remind ourselves why we're doing this. And I'm so glad you enjoy your garden. That's wonderful. Not only does it lower your grocery bill, not only do the vegetables taste so much better, but you enjoy working out there. And even though sometimes it might be overwhelming, having all those tasks, we can remind ourselves, this is so good for my family. And, you know, being outside in the sun is so good for me. Grounding myself, touching that soil, digging in the dirt, working hard. This is my place to rest. Even though it's work, even though it's a task on my agenda, it's my place of rest and peace. Yeah, when life gets overwhelming, and that's a nice place to be. That's right. In the garden is a nice place to be when life is difficult. That's right. The second thing, and this is so, so important, is we need to know our brain. So our brain is two things, and none of them are really nice to us. The first thing is our brain is like a spoiled child. It throws temper tantrums. I don't want to. You can't make me. I want the red cup. It doesn't matter if it's logical. It doesn't matter if it needs to be done. I don't want to. And our brain digs in its heels. Wow. Can you identify with that, Roxanne? Is that something that you can identify with? That your brain sometimes is your worst enemy. You know what you want to do and you know why. Yeah, that's right. You know why, but your brain is throwing a temper tantrum. I can't do it. It's not fair. I have too much on my plate. I can't handle all these things. And you can't make me, right? This is how our brain reacts. The second thing our brain does, I know, I don't want to make dinner every day. I so don't want to make dinner every day, which is crazy because I actually enjoy cooking, but it just takes so long. It just feels like another thing I have to do instead of something that I enjoy. So I try to change how I think about it, but we're going to get to that. So our brain can be a spoiled child just digging in its feet and having a temper tantrum. And this happens all of the time. We see it, we know it, we completely get it. Maybe sometimes we need to take a look at our brain having a meltdown and go, uh-huh, yep, and just giggle to ourselves. Did you ever do that when your kids were really young? You know, they're throwing a temper tantrum, and instead of losing your mind, you just kind of start to laugh because you realize how ridiculous it is. Sometimes we need to do the same thing to our brain. The second thing our brain does is it protects our ego. If we feel that we are good at something or gifted, our brain is trying to protect us from failure. Okay? So, or if we feel we shouldn't have to work hard at things. I'm smart. I never had to work hard at anything else before. Our ego doesn't want us to work hard and do hard things. It wants us to succeed easily. And our brain has this amazing calculator, and it calculates all the possible scenarios of failure and how that's going to affect our ego. Because what we believe about ourselves is going to come through about how we feel about ourselves. So our brain is calculating maybe even every possible improbable scenario. If you know anyone that struggles with anxieties or struggles with an anxiety disorder, you know that their brain has already calculated way down, like 50 steps down of every worst possibility to worst possibility to worst possibility. And their brain is calculating the cost of all of that to them, to their ego, to their wallet, to their family, to their life. And it's counting all of that up and going, stop, don't do it, don't do it, right? This is exactly what our brain does. So we need to actually work on that. And we're going to talk about how we can do that today. So how to overcome that inner whiny child. Did you ever do this with your kids? Just eat one bite. Just try one bite. We can do the same thing. I did it this week. There was something I really didn't want to do. I went for a walk with my husband. I was tired. I didn't feel great. And he said, come on, let's just go for a walk. You'll feel better. And I rolled my eyes. I am not going to feel better. You can't make me feel better, I'm thinking. And I said, okay, I will go for 15 minutes. And if I don't feel better, I'm going home. And he said, okay. And you know what? After 15 minutes, I felt better. Sometimes we need to go and do the hard thing just for a little while, just to see how it feels, just to see if it's not so bad. Now, this only works if we have a good attitude. If I spent those entire 15 minutes timing it, which I didn't, timing it going 12 more minutes to go before I can turn around, it's not going to work. Of course, it's not going to work. We need to kind of trick our brain. I'm just going to focus on this for 10 minutes or for 15 minutes. If it's with a child, it might be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Let's just work on this one thing for 10 minutes. I used to do this with my kids. We had tidy time, and it started at 10 minutes when they were young. And I would set a timer, go do the most work you can do in the least amount of time. Do the things that are going to make the most difference, the fastest. And we would race the clock and see how much cleaning we could do in 10 minutes. Then it was 15, then it was 20, then it was 30. So that's kind of the same thing. So we have to kind of motivate. Rewards and incentives, okay? I know, we all feel like we should have outgrown this. But sometimes we need to reward ourselves and say, when I get these 5 things done, then I will be able to do this other task. And maybe it's a task that still needs to be done, but it's one that we enjoy. Or perhaps I will do these 5 things and then I will take a half an hour and read a book. Or I'll go outside for a walk. It's really important not to make our rewards social media, not to make our rewards screens. There's a very good reason for this. The dopamine that you get on screens and on social media teaches you to need lots of dopamine and get more and more and more and more and more. More rewards, more rewards, more rewards. And the tasks that we do don't give us a lot of dopamine rewards. So if we do the task in order to get to the good stuff, those big multiple hits of like reward in our brain, then we're training ourselves that the tasks are terrible and the good thing is the break. So what we want to do is we want to starve our brain of dopamine in our rest periods so that it is enjoyable to get back to something else. So we want to sit and do nothing. We want to go for a walk. We want to do something that is, it might be a reward, but it's not going to give us those very quick dopamine hits. Does that make sense to you? If you're listening, just in the chat, tell me how you've found dopamine hits, how those rewards in your brain, what do you see with that? And Roxanne in the chat, if you want to just tell me, what do you think about that? Are there rewards that you can do that are going to be helpful to you? The last thing we do is something that I do with my kids all the time. I know they don't want to go someplace. We don't talk about it. We don't engage. Okay, we need to get dressed now. All right, it's time to put your shoes on. Okay, grab your coat. We're heading out the door. Not engaging. We're just getting ready to do the task. Yes, thank you, Roxanne. Well, never thought of that. That makes sense. Thank you for sharing. If we just get ready to work, we will start work. So if we were studying, we would just get out our textbook, get out our computer, get out the things we need, set up our desk, do the things we need to get ready. If we're going to the gym and we don't want to go to the gym, don't say to yourself, you're going to go to the gym. You just say, okay, let's go get dressed. Let's get our shoes, grab your gym bag and your keys, right? Don't engage. Just get ready to go. Just get ready to do that task. And that will really help. So there's actually a famous dancer, and I forget her name. She's in her 90s, and she still dances multiple hours a day or trains multiple hours a day in the studio. And someone asked her, how do you do that? How do you like motivate yourself to train so many hours a day when you're not even performing? And she said, I don't motivate myself to train. All I do is get ready to go in the morning and call a cab. And when I get to the studio, I train. Because she just gets ready to go. She just puts one foot in front of the other and does the thing. And when you get to the studio, when you get to the gym, you're not going to sit there. You're going to do what you're supposed to do. Just don't engage that whiny child. And sometimes you just need to say, you be quiet. We're not talking now. So sometimes we just need to take the thoughts that are coming into our head and say, and that's enough. I'm not listening to that anymore. Go stand in the corner. Go on. Out the door. That door is over there. I'm not having those thoughts anymore. So sometimes we just need to grab those thoughts and kick them right out. It's not that easy though, because once you engage, it fights back. Okay, how to overcome our overcalculating brain. Our actions are based on our self-image. So we want to take the pressure off. Instead of, I need to get in shape. I need to get in shape implies that I am not in shape, which is a negative. So I need to change the narrative to my action instead of my end result. Not I want to get in shape, or I need to get into shape, or I'm going to get in shape. That's the end result. We can say instead, I'm the type of person who works out. This is what I do, not what my end goal is going to be, because I don't feel that right now. I don't see that right now. That's discouraging. And that's going to tell my brain, you're not as good as you think you are. So instead of saying, I need to be consistent to succeed, we're going to change that up to, I'm a person who works hard, or I'm a person who does hard things. Are there some other narratives that we can flip? Do you have anything that comes to your mind, Roxanne, that you think of when you have a goal, like a goal that you've set? I need to manage my time better. I need to stay on task. I need to stop procrastinating. What's something that pops out to you that you might say to yourself on kind of a regular basis? I need to have a good schedule and stay on track. I need to be able to be on time for things. Okay, that's excellent. I need to be on time. We'll shorten that too. I need to be on time. And instead of being on time. So if I need to be on time and now I am 1 minute late, it is hopeless. I can no longer be on time. There's no point trying anymore. That makes sense? So instead, let's flip it. And we will say, I'm the type of person who prepares in advance, or I'm the type of person who, I don't want to say manages my time well, because as soon as I struggle with it, then I'm going to have difficulty. Although manage my time well is not too bad. I'm a person who manages my time well, or I'm a person who sets alarms so that I can show up on time. I set alarms for a lot of things. I'm a person who sets alarms, right? So that will help you. So what do you do in order to reach your goal? What's your action? So we want to change. We trick our brain instead of saying, I need to be on time. That means I'm not usually on time. And our brain is giving us a self-defeating message. We want to change that around and say, I set alarms. I'm the person who sets alarms to be on time, or I'm a person who manages my time, or I'm the person who prepares in advance so I can be on time. Those are some ways that we could flip around that narrative. If you think of others, we can definitely talk about them. Right now, what could we flip around? What narratives could we flip around in your life? Put that in the comments right now, and I will leave a comment back to you about narratives that you could use instead. Or you could give me both, your narrative and a flipped narrative. I'd love to hear your narratives. So please do put them in the comments below. Okay, the nuts and bolts of growth, because all of these ideas, they're kind of like mystical, not mystical, but they're sort of like mist. They're like hard to grab onto. So the nuts and bolts of growth. The first thing we need to understand is that the goal is not the goal. Now, that seems self-defeating if anything does. So the goal is not the goal. If my goal is to be on time, why is that not the goal? If my goal is to manage my time well, why is that not the goal? If my goal is to be able to not procrastinate, why is that not my goal? You can have a dream or what you're working towards. That's your end goal. But the goal for today is growth. It's just to be better than I was yesterday, or maybe even better than I was last hour. And it's okay to have a do-over 20 minutes into your day and say, okay, scratch, we're starting again. I'm taking a 15-minute breather and we're doing a do-over. We're just going to start the day again. The goal needs to be growth. Because what happens when the goal is the end result only is A, it's hopeless. You are never going to be completely on time, completely time managed, completely self-disciplined. You are always going to fail. So that's no good. The goal needs to be growth, because when we grow, we gain more confidence. And when we gain more confidence, we can grow more. So it's really important that we make growth a goal and not, I need to have everything perfect for this week. Perfection is not the goal. The second thing is, don't wing it. Have daily planning meetings. And so I know, Roxanne, you said that you would probably do better if you had a better plan. So one thing I would like to show you sometime is how you can take all of your tasks. You could take it for the month even, and you can break that down into weeks. And then you could take a week's task, and then you look at all the tasks that need to be done in a week, and you break them down into days. And I don't personally break it down into hours and minutes because I find that super stressful. But what I do is I have checklists, and I have a list of these things must be done today. And stop. They must be done today. And then I have a whole bunch of other things that really are priorities and that they need to be done today, but they're secondary. I always start on the musts first, and then I work on the secondary things. And I also block off time in my schedule for me. I block off time so that I can find some space. It's really, really important that we have a space in our life that is not got something planned in it, because as adults, we know we could fill up every second of our 24 hours, never sleep, and never finish all our tasks. It's just part of being an adult. We're always going to push things to the next day. We're always going to have things next week. The really cool thing is housework. If you push it from this week to next week, you don't have to do it twice. You just have to do it once. So unfortunately, pushing housework seems to be a great plan, except it does need to get done. So that's one thing we could do. The other thing I recommend is daily planning meetings, and that sounds so formal. But maybe it's something you can do. When you sit down for your morning coffee, or when you sit down for your morning tea, or when you have breakfast, grab a piece of paper, write down, today, this must get done. Maybe you don't, for your personal life, have like a week-long plan of tasks that need to be done. Maybe you don't like organize your housework that way, or your garden, or those kinds of things. But I bet you have things that you know need to be done today. And just make that list of things that need to be done today so that you can make sure that they get done. So you might have a housework plan that needs to get done today. You know, I haven't washed the floor in 2 weeks and it really needs to be washed. It has to be done today. Okay, that's going to be on the has to be done today. You know, we haven't been consistent enough with this. I need to make sure that we set aside time in our homeschool to work on this subject today. Or today's the gardening day. We're all going to go and work in the garden together because our family is a team and we work together at things. Maybe you have a day and you just say, look, these 3 hours on this day is always cleaning time and everyone just works together. Whatever works for you. There's so many strategies. So if you need some help with that, I think it's really fun. Personally, I like to plan. So I would love to sit down and talk with you about how you can be a little bit more organized. And the other thing you can do is to have only 2 options. I know this seems strange, but either A, I work on that list of tasks, or B, I sit and do nothing. I don't mean read a book. I don't mean cross stitch. I don't mean listen to music. I mean sit and look at a blank wall. Deprive your brain of all dopamine. Staring at a blank space, staring at a blank wall, first of all, teaches you to focus for long periods of time. In fact, it's a very good focus activity to learn to just not think or to show those thoughts the door and say, right now, I'm not paying attention to that. Okay, that's really important. I'll make a note of it. And now you can leave. And I'm not, okay, I noticed you. I'm not paying attention right now. Being able to focus, that hyper focus on just a blank spot on the wall or the ceiling or whatever, to not need any inputs. It lets your brain rest. Our brains don't get rest very often. We usually switch tasks and switch tasks and switch tasks, but especially if your tasks are brain taxing, like thinking taxing, focus taxing, it's really important to have brain rests. And when you do that, you deprive your brain of dopamine, and that means you will really crave to go back and work because this is really boring. So all of a sudden, washing dishes or working on that task that you didn't want to do seems quite a bit more interesting than sitting and doing nothing. So that's one option. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is to build margin into your life. If you think something is going to take a half an hour, expect that it's going to take 45 to an hour. If you get done early, bonus. But especially for people who book time slots, make sure you book extra. Some homeschoolers, they say we have 1 hour for math, we have 1 hour for science, we have 1 hour for social studies, we have 1 hour for reading. And what happens when they need a snack? What happens when they have to go to the bathroom? What happens when they can't find their pencil? What happens when the dog gets sick on the floor and you have to stop and clean it up? What happened to that time? It just disappeared. Build in at least 15 minutes for every hour of work. Don't expect to just switch tasks because it doesn't work that way. You have to get the right books. You have to, get ready for the next thing. It takes time to switch tasks. So if you are building a homeschool plan or a life plan, especially that is scheduled by the hour, then you definitely need to build in margin. Even if you were using lists, build in margin by saying from this time of day to this time of day, I am doing something else. I am doing something off my want to list. And as a mom, I'm going to tell you, don't make that between 1 and 2 in the morning. It's okay to say to your kids, listen, this is quiet time. This is my 1 hour and your 1 hour to go be by yourself. Nothing wrong with that. I did this with my kids when they decided they didn't want to nap anymore. I'm so glad I thought of this and heard of this before my son threw his first temper tantrum about napping. Because when he did, I just said, oh, don't worry about it. You don't have to nap. And he went, what? I said, oh, no. You just have to stay in your room with the door closed and I can't hear you. Of course he napped, right? But we kept that going for years. Everybody had quiet time. It's good to build downtime into your life. We need it. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs to schedule rest. The last thing is to get accountability. This is not something you're going to be able to just do on your own. It's discouraging. It's frustrating. Most importantly, if you plan to make a change in your self-motivation and your discipline, and you just plan it yourself, I believe you have about a 10% chance of actually following through. 10%. If you tell somebody else, like you posted on social media, or you say to someone, hey, I've got this new plan now. I'm working really hard on my self-discipline. And they go, oh yeah, good for you. That's awesome. You got a 50-50 chance of actually following through. But if you say to a close friend, listen, can you do me a favor? I'm really working on self-discipline. Can you call me every night or text me every night and ask me how I did about getting this one task done today? You are 95% sure that you are going to do that task. If you know someone is going to check up on you, or if you know you have to text someone when you do that task, guess what? You're going to do it because someone else is going to check up on you. This really, really works. It really does. So make sure you're not going it alone. It can be a spouse. It doesn't have to be. It can be just a close friend. It might even be someone else who is working on the same types of things. I have a friend and we are both struggling to keep on track with exercise. And so we have Habit Share. You put a habit on there. It's on our phone. It's an app. And you can share your habit with your friend. Every time I post that I worked out, she sees that I post that I worked out. She sees what I did. I see what she does. When I don't follow through, she asks me about it. And when she doesn't follow through, I ask her about it. And there's nothing more motivating than to see, oh man, she did her push-ups today. Well, it's going to take me 3 minutes. Like, let's go do it. I can do mine too. If she can do it, I can do it. Having someone, a partner, an accountability partner really makes a difference. So go ahead, find someone. Never, ever learn alone. So I offer programs for students and teach them all of these skills. If this is something you're struggling with and you just don't feel that you can get there, you can get it all together, enough to actually be able to teach your kids, or if they're fighting you, which is very often the case by the time they're 11, 12, 13 years old, they don't want to hear it from you. They are looking for someone else. They're looking for an outside influence. Maybe Discern to Learn's for you. So you can definitely go and check that out and learn some more. So I would encourage you to check the link in the description for discerntolearn.com and learn more about what I offer. If you just want some help and you just want someone to talk to, definitely reach out, because I'm a mentor at heart. I love to help people, and I'd love to help you. So thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you around. I hope to hear from you soon. Bye now.